Welcome to Comfortable Conversations. I'm your host, Jas Kirk, where we dive into the greatest gift life can offer us, discomfort. These honest yet comfortable conversations we will have are essential as your life is your canvas. In each episode, I will share practical wisdom and personal stories that guide you through life's big questions, encouraging growth, self-discovery, and deeper connections in your everyday life. Welcome to today's episode of Comfortable Conversations. I want to share this reminder with everyone. Discomfort really is about disruption and us beginning to have uncomfortable conversations that we then make comfortable. We have to make room for it. We have to build capacity for it. And from there, we create a culture of more compassionate, healed individuals. But it really does take us to start to have uncomfortable conversations. And so today's guest is Dr. Devang Patel. He is someone that I've had conversations with before, and that's how I know, like, when it comes to discomfort, he's really about to speak to us about that. He has his own personal journey that intersects from personal experience and professional expertise in a way that's rare and refreshing. Dr. Patel is a board-certified family physician and the founder of Crescent Medical Service located in Frisco, Texas. Beyond his white coat, he brings something else to this conversation, his lived experience with ADHD. He was diagnosed after medical school, and he not only treats patients with ADHD, he deeply understands them. His care model is both on empathy, education, and real human connection. In today's episode, I'm really excited for us to dive deep on what is ADHD, what does ADHD look like for our culture currently, and what is the future impact of ADHD. So Dr. Patel, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
So how are you doing? How was your drive in?
Well, the drive-in was actually fairly comfortable. I got cut off by a very big pickup truck today, and he went through 2 lanes, but I just kept driving, and I was like, wow, I have finally achieved it where I don't get road rage. And I think that was like something that I was very proud of.
Okay, I can't lie. I have those moments too. Like, I'm starting to be really at peace when I drive because in Texas, if y'all aren't familiar with it, it's just like, I'm not really for sure why living here, they give licenses out to people. Like, I think everybody needs to take a driver's test. Like, we need to see that you can drive.
Yeah, we need to get real-time feedback from people, from other drivers.
Yeah, to know.
Like, how many likes do you have for this driver in front of you?
Exactly. That's going to be a thing. But Dr. Patel, I always dive right into this question with all of my guests just because I know it really does, like, take the trajectory of our conversation really, really deep. And so what discomfort did you have to experience in your life that made you become this licensed professional and then decide to then specialize in ADHD?
Well, I was not a particularly good student pretty much my entire life. And even up to it was my junior year of high school where I was about to fail out of, computer programming. Mind you, this is the 90s. At that time, if you said you wanted to go into computer programming, everybody got off your back. Okay. And being Indian, like Indian parents, I was like, it was just something that was easy to say.
Right.
But I was about to fail out of computer programming so badly that my teacher, and this was basic programming, okay? 1s and 0s, binary, like that. And my teacher comes to me mid-quarter and says, you're about to fail, and there is no amount of extra credit you can take, or even if you got 100% in every single test for the rest of the quarter, you will not get anything above an F.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I don't know what to do with that. Do I just, okay. And she made an offer to me, and I thought she was being very gracious. Now, in hindsight, I know that, wow, teachers are actually graded on their own performance of their students.
Yeah.
So she was looking for a pass for herself.
Yeah.
But she said, I will sign off on you transferring to any other class that they have. Now, mind you, public education, overcrowded schools. I was like, you expect me to find a class that has open seats?
Yeah.
Okay, and I got to do that? Okay, and this was completely weird, but anatomy and physiology had 3 seats open because it was that hard.
Okay.
Right? And I was like, whatever, if I'm going to fail this class, I can fail that class too. It doesn't matter to me.
At this point.
And I walked in and I was like, hi, I'm Devang or Devang. Back then I said Devang. My name's Devang. But, walking into any class halfway through a quarter and everybody turns around, looks at me saying like, you're walking in now?
Yeah.
Right? And it flipped a switch for me where it caught my attention, it caught my interest. And for the first time, I was actually looking forward to learning. Okay. And, when you say things like, oh my God, a spleen is a real thing. Okay. I thought it was a made up word like guts and gizzards or whatever.
Yeah.
And I ended up rocking that class. I got an A in it. Okay. And furthermore, what happened was I ended up getting the best report card of my life to that point with all A's and 2 B's. Okay. Following quarter after that, again, at this point, we're done with anatomy and physiology, and I was just like, something sparked.
Yeah.
And that quarter, I got all A's and 1 B. And to anybody who would be in that situation, you can imagine me staring at my report card, looking at that B, going like, I don't like this. And so after that, every quarter for the rest of my high school career, I got straight A's, and I would take on extra credit, and I would get 4.25 out of 4 out of for my GPA doing extra credit. And it shot up my GPA so high that I graduated with a 3.78 out of 4. And all of a sudden I was a smart guy.
All from a teacher saying, hey, you can't fail my class. Go fail somebody else's class, but don't fail my class. This is going to look bad on me. I really can't help you. And then you go to anatomy and physiology and you actually liked it.
Mm-hmm. So the thing is, it changed the course of my life where I knew I wanted to be a doctor because I just wanted to learn stuff about the body. And then, mental health wasn't a part of the equation at that time because no one considered at that time what anxiety and depression was. Yeah. We didn't even screen like pregnant women for postpartum depression or anything like that. Getting through medical school was the second challenge. It was the first time I experienced things with mental health because I had my first anxiety attack my first year. Okay. My grandfather was in the hospital, and it looked like he was going to go. He didn't at that time, but for me, it was my parents had actually gone out of the country, and I thought I was going to have to make funeral arrangements.
Oh, wow. And
that was on my mind, and I didn't know it was on my mind. It was right before finals for my very first, the first set of finals for med school. Okay. And didn't realize what was happening. I still remember I was at Popeyes.
Okay.
Okay. Because I felt like having Popeyes because, back then you don't have to watch your cholesterol. Right. And driving from there, I had my first anxiety attack while I was driving, and I thought I was dying.
Oh, wow.
And then I drove straight to my doctor's office, and, the only reason I had him set up was because, my parents made sure it was like, you got to have a doctor and that's your doctor.
Yeah.
And he wasn't available. His partner was. And the way he talked to me, he said, "Oh, here's just a panic attack. You'll be fine."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm not going to be fine. How is this not going to happen again? Because I feel like I'm dying.
What were you actually experiencing when you say you felt like you were dying?
When people experience anxiety attacks, it's something that they're able to describe now very eloquently from, watching social media.
Yeah.
But an elephant on your chest.
Yeah.
Right? Feeling of impending doom. Not feeling like you're in your body. You're almost like you're floating above it.
Yeah.
And your mind is going 1,000,000 miles a minute.
Yeah.
And you're sweating. Your heart's beating through your chest. Nothing feels real.
Yeah.
And when you feel something like that and have somebody dismiss it, like, that's not right.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to the next part of my life, residency, finished med school, residency.
Before you jump to the residency,
sure.
My question, you have this panic attack, you go to your physician, they're not there. And so you have their partner who's there and says, "Oh, it's just a panic attack." Did you just leave and say, "It's just a panic attack"? Or was that one of those moments that it was like, okay, mental no, I didn't like how I felt. How did you navigate the next day, the next moment, the next hour?
I discovered self-help books at Barnes & Noble.
Okay. So that's the first, you heard them, you saw, heard, and felt them dismiss you, but something within you was like, you got to look into this for yourself. Okay. Now we go to your residency.
Yep. Residency was the next difficulty because I thought I had self-helped myself enough. But my ADHD was just about to be diagnosed. I got chewed out in residency. Why? Because I had a flat tire, running late for rounds. But, people with ADHD always make excuses because they're always late for something.
Okay.
So when something really does happen, you don't get any, And, oh my God, it was such a horrible day. The attending who was leading the rounds that day, he was sort of like the head honcho, big wig of the hospital, and tough as nails type of guy. And he called me out in front of, in middle of the hospital ward. So you have nurses and patients' families and staff and whatnot.
Yeah.
In the middle of the hall, in front of everybody. If you don't want to be here, don't show up.
Oh, wow.
And that panic attack sensation that I just described was coming back up. Everything in me, the only thing I could think of, my fists were clenched, and I was like, "Don't punch him! Don't punch him! Don't punch him!"
Oh my God.
Okay, but it was just the way he said it. It's like if you don't want to be, it's like if I don't want to be here. Again, I didn't know my ADHD yet, but I was like, you have no clue what it took for me to get here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the last person to say that to.
And you said that to him?
No.
You're thinking this?
Yes.
Okay.
But something like that does not get swept under the table.
Yeah.
It was something that had to be investigated. And it was actually my mentor, who pulled me aside and said, again, my name's Devang, but everyone called me Devang. Okay. He's like, "Devang, have you ever been checked for ADD?" And in that moment, this man that I respected, another gentleman, right?
Yeah.
So much respect for him. In that moment, I judged him and I said, like, "Really? What, you're calling me stupid? You're gonna kick me when I'm down?"
So ADD, attention deficit disorder, ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder.
Hyperactivity disorder, yes.
So, but back then, one, it wasn't common enough that even as a practicing soon-to-be doctor, it was like this misconception of I'm stupid or I'm slow. Yep. It's hard for me to learn. There was offense taken with it.
One correction. I was already a doctor.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. Very, very so it's like I already got my medical diploma. I'm here. I'm in the club.
Right.
And I'm in doing all this work, and to have it suggested to me at that time was an insult. And I took it as such. So I understand when I talk to people and I suggest that they might have ADHD, that they'll get defensive.
That's very interesting.
Okay. So I get that. And I try to be very, very polite and civil about it. And I would rather focus on the strength and say, wow, you must be very good with talking to people.
Okay.
Okay. Or hey, you must be really good at, noticing inconsistencies about things.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you probably do well in a chaotic situation. You probably keep your head, have a level head.
Yeah. You're describing me. We just found out I have ADHD probably.
Well, here's the thing. What I'll say is this. I respect people with ADHD, especially the people that have never been diagnosed. I see people, when I first started practicing after my diagnosis. Oh, by the way, that doctor who chewed me out, after my ADHD diagnosis got put out there, he was never able to look me in the eye again.
Really?
Okay. And I was like, that was a shame, because I was like, yeah, now you realize that, dude, you kicked me when I was down. Yeah. You didn't realize how much it hurt.
Yeah.
But I still got back up.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of your podcast. It's about getting back up.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyways, those are the difficulties that led me to that point.
It was several levels of discomfort that really were disruptors, right? That disrupted you, but catapulted you to the next space in life that then opened up to, wow, I'm a medical doctor, but now I'm a medical doctor with ADHD. Can you tell us the difference between ADD and ADHD? Just so, because at first you said your mentor said you had ADD, but then you were diagnosed with ADHD.
What they used to call this thing that we call ADHD now was ADD. Before that, they used to call it minimal brain dysfunction.
Okay.
Okay. What's in a name? Okay. It's just the thing that we call them. But this collective condition that is probably the biggest representative of neurodivergent individuals.
Okay.
So if you have neurotypical versus neurodivergent, if you put it like a 90-10 split, okay, of the neurodivergent people that are ADHD are the first people that you think of.
Okay.
Okay. And ADHD is on the spectrum for autism.
Okay.
Okay. Why do they call it a spectrum? Because we can't classify it.
Okay.
Okay. The more you try to classify it, yeah, you can do a gradient of colors. It's like, that's red. That's a version of red. That's a different version of red.
Wow.
It's all red.
Yeah.
That's green.
It's all relative.
Yes.
It's all really relative. So now that you're diagnosed, and of course the self begins to be the first exploration that you go on. Before, when you had your first panic attack, you started to seek help through self-help books. And so now that you're diagnosed and you're practicing, and then you begin to specialize in this, what, as a medical doctor, are you seeing that's happening from the time you began actually practicing to now? are there there's a lot of people who are not diagnosed, but also not aware that they are. I think the one thing you said was lateness. And you know how some people are extremely proud. They're like, I'm just late. And you have to tell them, like, if the podcast started at 9:30, I got to tell you that it starts at 7:30, but you'll be here on time. And it's like, that's actually something that's not just you like to be late, like what's actually happening.
To prepare for driving down here, I needed an entire week.
Wow.
An entire week where I had to keep it in my mind that on Friday morning, I will be in Dallas.
Okay.
That I will need to budget my energy and people around me will need to know. I will have to clear my entire morning so that I can make sure I can be here because it was important.
Right.
And, oh, by the way, again, thank you for having me here. I should also say that I would not have been here if not have been for my wife, Vinny, okay, who, again, she's my rock.
Yeah.
She's been there from the beginning of my ADHD diagnosis. And you had met her,
yeah,
I think.
Phenomenal woman doing just as extraordinary things, if not like 6 jobs.
Well, I'll tell you this. For any ADHD leaning doctors out there, this is the person you want to hire to help you manage your practice.
Okay.
Okay. She learned through experience with me how to deal with the most difficult people. And when you have an ego, okay, I think that was one of the first things that I should be very careful how I say that. I still have an ego.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to give up your doctor card if you drop the ego. You know,
yeah.
It's easier to give up golf. Okay. But anyway, the thing is, there's ego and then there's trauma.
Oh, wow.
What do you think egos develop? Egos develop to protect you. In a world of psychological trauma, from being told you're not good enough or you're always late, you never think about others.
Yeah.
You are very inconsiderate. If you hear that starting first grade,
yeah,
okay, when you're 6 years old, 7 years old, whatever, okay, and you hear that for an entire lifetime, yeah, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
For those who have not been diagnosed with ADHD and they've learned to cope, those are the people that end up with a condition called borderline personality disorder.
Okay.
We call it that, but it's, how do you unravel that? You got to go in deep. And that is basically the point of my practice. I go in deep.
How deep? Let's take them a little deep. Don't give them everything. They still got to come to you.
Well, I'll say this. Start with just making an appointment, you know.
Okay.
And, you know, I can give you my website. It's ADHD2.com, the number 2, because I have ADHD too. I was just glad I got that website.
Yeah.
That is one. The other one is poweradhd.com.
Okay.
Because ADHD can be a superpower.
Okay.
But make the appointment. How deep do we go? After my initial sessions can go anywhere from half an hour to an hour.
Okay.
Okay. I don't look at the clock when I'm with a patient. Okay. I space my visits apart enough to give me plenty of buffer.
Okay.
Okay. Because that first part is just sort of getting to know you.
Okay.
When I say going deep, I will ask you about what's your worst fears at the first visit.
Okay.
What's the thing that you need fixed first? We start there.
Okay.
And every single visit that we have, I tend to see my patients once a month, but if they need to see me more frequently, I keep my schedule open for them. And I say at every visit, we need to make progress, little bit by little bit.
Okay.
And we build on it. And that's how, when I keep my notes, my documentation, everything, the processes that I've built around this practice are built around the ADHD mindset.
Okay.
An open scheduling system, because you might not remember you need your medication until you're about to run out. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? Log on and you should be able to get in to see me within the next 2 days. Okay.
So is it, you mentioned open mindset. Is that something that someone with ADHD, diagnosed or unaware that they have ADHD, do they need experiences that have this like open kind of concept, open mindset, open mind? Do they gravitate towards open-minded people more? What's happening with that open?
Well, what I'll say is this. The best way to define people with ADHD is to not define them.
Oh.
Because we live in extremes and we will cycle between. Sometimes we'll be very, very open. Sometimes we'll be very, very closed-minded.
Okay.
Okay. It depends on the day.
Okay.
Okay. If you notice that you're going, you can't find the middle ground. If people tell you it's like you're just dealing with extremes, can you just be in the middle for once, or can you just center yourself, or can you just not be so one or the other?
Yeah.
If you find yourself that way, I'm the guy to talk to.
Okay.
Okay. That would be the easiest way to say it. Now, when you mention about being late,
Okay.
it's not about being late. It's about losing track of time. If your mind is constantly thinking, you could be thinking about absolutely nothing and get lost in your thoughts, or you could be hyper-focused.
Okay.
Either way, you're going to lose track of time. And then before you know it, it's like, I was running 10 minutes early and now I'm 20 minutes behind.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Yeah.
Or I didn't anticipate for something. What does the world typically do? They say, budget, extra time for every single task. Well, so if I got to budget extra time for brushing my teeth, okay, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Right? The thing is, you got to design your life around your mindset. And that's where people that come to see me tend to succeed. So to give you a real life example.
Okay.
I have a patient who is terribly fearful of water.
Okay.
Okay. Now, she also suffers severe pain and severe anxiety.
Okay.
So I suggested to her at one point, you should go get flotation therapy, okay? Because it'll get you into a deep, relaxed state. It'll help loosen up your muscles. It'll help. And it's only like, just a few inches of water, okay? And it's super saturated with salt. You cannot drown. I mean, unless you're face down. You cannot drown in a flotation tank.
Yeah.
But just the thought of it brings out panic attacks in her.
Oh, wow.
So we stay away from that conversation, right? But every single time I see her, I ask her, what are your thoughts on that now?
So you have to keep reinforcing it, readdressing it.
Because the thing is, it's because I know that's such a deep-seated fear, we do have to address it.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Because if it's that deep-seated, okay?
You need to shed light on it.
You're not going to be able to make progress unless you get through it.
Oh, wow. So that's deep. No wonder you're doing the deep work, because I think in general, you have a lot of people who an experience happens, fear, trauma, and they're like, hide it, push it down. We don't talk about that. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to move forward. I know you're scared of this. And it's like, we can look at each other. We're not talking about it, but you're saying no, like even comfortable conversations, it's disruptive, but you need that disruption. You need to pull the curtain back and start to slowly. So how does someone that's uncomfortable, right? How does someone who doesn't have ADHD, me, an ordinary person, I'm not a licensed medical doctor, if I see that in someone, how do I navigate that without feeling like I'm pressuring someone, or you know how people see a fear in someone and you're like, you just need to move past it. How do you begin to address it in a way that's actually healthy for that individual, where you're actually helping versus hurting them?
I'll give you a visual. Okay. Flowers don't need to put in any energy to attract bees. They just got to open themselves up, and those bees will find their way. And the thing is, if you do that, you will benefit. Because these bees, okay, they got their stingers, but they're not looking to damage the flowers. The stingers are there for their protection. But if they use a stinger once, they die.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They want to make honey.
Yeah.
Right? Keep yourself open. If you are open and you're approachable, let your guard down. Those people will come closer to you, but they will not hurt you. As a matter of fact, they might even end up protecting you. Now, I say this with full awareness that there are bad people out there.
Yeah.
Okay? And the thing is, I'm not telling you to, open up your bank accounts and, unlock your doors or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But sometimes having a conversation can be like, hey, how you doing today?
Yeah.
You seem a little upset. You all right?
It's having capacity beyond. It's not just, hey, how are you? And you're really closed off and someone just says, oh, I'm amazing. It's actually having the capacity to sit with someone and say, how are you? You seem, and let the ... fill in itself.
Yes. So I hope I am answering your questions.
Yeah, I know you are. I think it's extremely powerful because we're looking at ADHD from a different perspective. And I also want to get your take on how does it impact our health and well-being, our movement? Like, we talk about mental wellness and we think about that from, you talked about it from the space of mental health, but what about physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, financial health? How is ADHD individuals or people who are, and I keep bringing up undiagnosed because a lot of times individuals have to see themselves on the spectrum. And like you said, that's relative, you may be a red and you're like, I'm a burgundy. Like, so what does that look like in other areas of individuals' lives?
The key factors, nowadays it's very common to hear about dopamine and dopamine reward system and whatnot. When I was going through my training, okay, there's a movie that came out, The Whistleblower, okay? It was about releasing information about the addictive nicotine in tobacco.
Okay.
Right? At that time, I still remember learning about going like, wow, they're talking about stuff that I want to know about.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a reward system. That reward system, when I got diagnosed, when I went from getting straight, like mediocre grades to straight A's, anatomy and physiology class, learning about the spleen, that there's a physical relationship to everything that's happening with the body, the beauty of it. It was in essence of its own reward. But what about other reward measures? You mentioned financial. If you feel like you got to buy something to feel good, chances are there's some component of ADHD there.
Retail therapy. Okay.
Retail
Sorry,
therapy.
people, we're talking retail.
Well, that's the word. That term softens a blow. But the thing is, when you're dealing with people that end up living paycheck to paycheck, okay, if you find yourself living paycheck to paycheck, you need to be making a phone call with me because the thing here is that not everybody lives paycheck to paycheck. It might feel like that, but there are people that are like, if I don't have this amount of money, I will not be able to make any of my bills.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're at that level and you're like, well, yeah, I probably should put in some money to my 401k, but I just can't afford it right now.
Yeah.
You need to talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you are someone who has already maximized all their contributions, okay, all right, you might not need to see me.
Yeah.
Okay. You probably are doing okay, but it's for all the people that don't have all that stuff. Those are the people that should prioritize seeing me.
So that you can, in your finances, you can see your ADHD affecting your life.
Yes.
It may not just be the actual fact of, yeah, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but within that, the spending issue, the dopamine hit of I need this versus this. So then what about physical health?
Diabetics, people with cholesterol, people with hypertension. If you are still reaching for snacks because you need them, okay, even though your body is shutting down, okay, that's yet another indication. When I had people that I was taking care of, again, I've taken care of people in all areas of healthcare, not just ADHD.
Yeah.
I used to make house calls for the elderly and disabled. I've taken care of people in a federally qualified healthcare center where people that didn't have insurance or they're homeless or whatnot, okay? People that were stuck doing things because they needed them. If I'm trying to get somebody's diabetes under control and their blood sugar is so high that, the lab, like the machines in the labs can't even detect it, okay,
Yeah.
That's how high their blood sugars are. How do you get that under control? You got to start with understanding why they're doing all that. And you got to address it from a fear standpoint. Well, if I don't do this, I will not feel good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's if your blood pressure is through the roof and you still are craving salty snacks, well, you've learned that as your dopamine system. You've learned that that's something that you can do. Now, if you take that away and give them, like an apple or something, until you teach them that this can also help them feel good and hit that very thing, but at the same time lower their blood pressure, well, now you've addressed their physical health. Okay. I'm not going to say it's like, oh, go out and throw everything out of your fridge and do it. It's like, no, you're going to have to do this stepwise.
But you brought up before with your patients progress. The first call should look different than the fifth call. The fifth should look different than the 10th. And that's with any and everything, right? It's that one habit compounded over time.
Yep.
I think it's James Clear, Atomic Habits. If you do 1% better every day at the end of the year, you're actually 37% better at something. So I think this is really powerful what you're sharing. My next question is how do we become a culture that is more aware and empathetic to individuals with ADHD and the people who are undiagnosed? And what does this start to look like for the future? Work. If this is an individual suffering with fears just in their ordinary everyday life, what does that actually look like for them for work? Because when you think about work-life balance, then you're like, there's really there's no balance. But how are we looking future forward, focused to work, live, play, all of that?
I want to answer this very carefully because I know this is a very important question. In order for us as a society to improve, we're going to need to learn a few things the hard way. And this is stuff, obviously, this is not for me. It's something that is built into every culture around the globe. Okay. Starts with forgiving your enemies. Okay. Why do we put up all these rules when it comes to work? Remote work versus working in an office setting.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't need to go into that one. Everyone just inherently already has an answer. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you can't show someone progress, then they're not worth following up on. That doesn't make sense, because the thing is that completely negates like the teachings of Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't give up on people.
Yeah.
You just can't. Okay. I don't have the answer for why not,
Right.
but I do have the answer of how not.
Okay.
Okay. How do you not judge somebody? Well, might start with forgiveness, right? Now, say we're two people.
Yeah.
Imagine I have hurt you in some way,
Yeah.
right? If you come to me with a bag of flour looking for an apology, I am more likely to bake you a cake than to offer or say sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Well, take that bag of flour to someone who you've hurt and bake them a cake.
Yeah.
Okay? You just got to turn it around. You can't get other people to forgive, to just forgive you, but you can forgive others. Right? Turn the other cheek. Right? We've heard these terms. You don't need to go to church to just take in information. You got to go to church to be a part of something.
Yeah.
Right? Community. You don't go to work to be part of a community. You go to work to get something practical done.
Yeah.
If you want to be a part of community, you got to do something outside of work.
Yeah.
That requires leveraging time. If you are constantly running late, you will never be able to have that extra time to do stuff. Right? And I think when we last spoke, we talked a little bit about this. Okay? My job would be essentially to help you not run as late, to build enough of a buffer in your life that you can do the things you want. Me sitting here speaking with you,
Yeah.
one can say like, oh, well, that's promoting his practice. It's like, yeah, it is. But I'm also having a conversation in something that's outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Okay. Where I'm being recorded. Okay.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful that I don't say anything that naturally comes to my brain.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it might offend somebody. Well, I do that on a daily basis now. I have to.
Yeah.
Because I have two small children, 2 girls. I'm trying to teach them how to be, entrepreneurs. And they're 9 years old and 11 years old, respectively. And the thing is, I have them working on, right now, the current thing is working on an elevator pitch.
Oh, okay? Wow.
And the 11-year-old, there was somebody that came to, do a foundation evaluation for my home. And we were talking about ADHD and, we started talking about entrepreneurship. And I said, well, you know what? Watch this. And I had my kid come over, and it was the first time ever. I was like, give him the elevator pitch. Okay. And she did. And she's like, can I have $50? Okay. For this business that,
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't have 50, but I can give you 20. He pulled out his wallet, give him 20. And she was so happy. And I was like, good. You better put that in that special envelope that we made, because I'm going to match whatever funds that they raise for this business venture.
Okay.
Okay. But I'm trying to teach them things that I'm not getting. I mean, they're not going to learn this stuff from school.
Yeah.
Right? That's the reason for doing this. If there's a reason for people reaching out in communities. It's to teach other people.
Yeah.
It's easier to teach a child than an adult, but I'm also the doctor that taught old dogs new tricks.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's an 85-year-old diabetic who he's never going to change his ways. I'm like, hold my beer.
Okay. Watch this. But what I'm hearing you say when it comes to that future and culture shifting impact, the first thing you said was forgiveness. And I think that's not even something I would have thought was the first thing you were going to say. And it's like forgiveness, but also leaving room for that opportunity of change. And then next, teaching, being one, the student, but also being able to be the teacher. We to wish to see progress in life, we have to be able to see ourselves on either side of that lens. And then you also brought up community, and it was interesting when you shared community, but knowing where that lives. Like work isn't really, it's not practical to consider work as community. There may be individuals you like, but that doesn't mean that's community. You have to be really intentional in finding community. And then the last thing being time, which, let me say this, everyone struggles with one time. Not having enough time, too much time. Like we're all struggling to think we're running out of time for something, but you're always right on time for what's for you. But it sounds like when it comes to an actual diagnosis, you have to be really strategic in all those little things, the forgiveness, the community, the teaching. It leads to gaining back time. Yeah.
I was actually, prior to this, I mentioned this to you privately, but I was watching the video of the previous person.
The art of life visioning with Michael Lito.
Correct. He, like, as I was watching it, he works with professional athletes.
Yeah.
Right. I used to get therapy from someone, physical therapy, who was in the NFL, and I'm not a sports guy, so trust me, I don't know names. I don't, but the thing is, he was like, oh, I was in the NFL, while he's stretching me out and everything. I was like, oh, cool. And he's going back to school to learn physical therapy and rehab and whatnot. Okay. And I was like, I can already tell that you did not save your money.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And the thing is, what Mr. Lito was talking about was there's people that want to, they think about that last 10%, but they don't want to work on the previous 90.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. They want the attention, but not the intention.
Yeah.
Right. We were talking. Okay. I was fascinated with that conversation because, he understood that these people that get to the NFL, he's like, dude, you should have been saving your paychecks before you got to the NFL.
Yeah.
But that's not something we teach our kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because if that happened, it's like, dude, you should have had enough to like if you just put some of that money into, a regular index fund, okay, you'd be able to live your life off of interest payments and dividends. And it would be a comfortable life, a thing that you did not have before. But you got through all that and you didn't make it because you thought getting to the NFL was making it. But no, you are not that person that gets remembered.
Yeah. It takes work. Like, I think with anyone, it takes work, and we have to start talking about the 90%, and it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable to talk about. It's uncomfortable to talk about the work, and it's uncomfortable to do the work. I think as you were saying that, it reminded me when you brought up the patient who, and that's anybody, when you talk about the fear, but you have to keep bringing it up and slowly and slowly and slowly. And so we're coming to the end of our time today, but when it comes to mental wellness, what is the one thing that you're always going to invest in for yourself?
That's a good one. I like to take sort of a retroactive approach.
Okay.
I want to live my life the way that I envision I will live it when I'm 85.
Mm.
And in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to work a little bit harder today while I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I make it to 85 or not, I don't know. But if I do make it, I want to be able to look back and say, did I do something correctly?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I'll be the first to say, I never feel that way.
Yeah.
I was up till 1 last night just thinking about all the things I could be doing better.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was like, I needed to get some sleep so I could drive here.
Yeah.
So remember I said I needed to focus all week to make sure I could do that. I was like, I needed to get to bed. I want to prioritize sleep and rest.
Mm.
Okay. And the thing is, when you have ADHD, you end up on your phone. And trust me, I do this, this is my process.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I'm watching something, I don't watch things that are just silly unless I'm trying to improve my mood. Mm. I try to get something like everything that I'm watching, if you're watching a 30-second video, I want to learn something from it. Mm. So if I'm watching it, I need to determine within a few seconds if this is worth my time. And if it is, then I will watch it, right? But imagine if you're trying to prioritize sleep, you can sit there all night and be like, I'm going to be late for work tomorrow. I don't have any capacity for that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that if I fall asleep, I will get some rest so that the next day, any challenges that come by, I'll be better equipped to take care of.
Oh, wow.
So
that's powerful. Rest, sleep and rest.
Because, in case I didn't mention it, we constantly are looking for reward. Okay. What's the best reward? Good night's rest.
I go to bed. Like, that is one thing people know about me. Like, Jas, I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was like, I can lay down and say you're like, oh, I'm about to go to bed. It's 9:30. And how some people takes them 30 minutes. No, by 9:31, sleep. Sleep. Out of there. I'm ready for bed. So
that means to me that you have designed your life in such a way that you will make sure that things get done so that you can fall asleep. And it creates a reward mechanism so that the next morning you're actually awake and you go do things which actually tire you out properly. Now, if you're exhausted physically but not mentally, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Right? I'm exhausted mentally and physically every day because I'll take time to think about something that seems silly or stupid to some people. But for me, it might be the most important thing in the world in that moment. And I've learned to create that as my dopamine system. Mm. Okay. And that's what happened when I did that anatomy and physiology class. I learned something that I actually wanted to learn, and I felt good.
Yeah.
It helped me get my groove.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Patel, can't wait for you guys to check out this episode. Thank you, Dr. Patel.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me, Jas Kirk, on Comfortable Conversations. Remember, the greatest gift life can offer you is discomfort. It's what shapes us, teaches us, and helps us grow. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Until next time, keep embracing life's challenges as opportunities to create your masterpiece. Your canvas is waiting. Go paint it beautifully.